Moses and the 10 plagues. Moses and Aaron set out to the land of Egypt. God sent them to free the people of Israel from Pharaoh. When they arrived in Egypt, they went before Pharaoh and told him what the Lord God had said. "Pharaoh, the Lord God has sent us to tell you to let my people go." Pharaoh looked at them and said, "I do not know the Lord God, and I will not let the people of Israel go." He then gave the Israelites more work because of what Moses said. Moses returned to the Lord and said, "Why have you sent me to Pharaoh? He has brought even more trouble on the people of Israel." The Lord answered Moses, "You shall see what I will do to Pharaoh." He told Moses to go back to Pharaoh with Aaron. If Pharaoh asks you to show him a miracle, take your rod and cast it before him so that it turns into a serpent. Moses went back to Pharaoh and did just as God had told him. When Pharaoh saw what happened to the rod, he sent for his wise men and magicians, who did the same with their rods. However, Aaron's rod swallowed up theirs. Pharaoh's heart became hardened, and he still did not listen to Moses. God told Moses he will send him to Pharaoh again, but this time with the first plague of the waters turning to blood. Moses returned to Pharaoh and said, "The Lord God has sent me to you, saying, 'Let my people go so that they may serve me.'" Pharaoh refused. So God told Aaron to stretch his rod over the water of Egypt, that it may turn to blood, so the fish in the river will die, and they will not be able to drink the water. Pharaoh's magicians did the same thing, so Pharaoh's heart was not moved, and he went back into his house. The second plague of frogs. Moses returned to Pharaoh and said, "The Lord God has sent me to you, saying, 'Let my people go so that they may serve me.'" Pharaoh refused. So Aaron took his rod and stretched it over the water, so that frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. Pharaoh's magicians did the same thing. However, he asked Moses to ask the Lord to take away the frogs from Egypt, and he will let the people of Israel go. When Moses asked the Lord to remove the frogs, God did so. When Pharaoh saw that the frogs were gone, his heart became more hardened, and he did not listen to Moses. The third plague of lice. The Lord then said to Moses, "Tell Aaron to stretch out his rod and strike the dust of the land of Egypt, so that there may be lice everywhere." When Aaron did this with the rod, Pharaoh's magicians tried to do the same thing, but they couldn't. There was lice on man and the animals. The magicians then said to Pharaoh, "This is the finger of God." But Pharaoh did not listen, and he hardened his heart. The fourth plague of flies. The Lord said to Moses, "Return to Pharaoh, saying, 'God has said, let my people go, so that they may serve me.'" Pharaoh did not listen, so God sent swarms of flies into Pharaoh's house and everywhere in Egypt. Pharaoh then called for Moses and told him, "They can go sacrifice in the wilderness if he removed the flies." Moses prayed that God would remove the flies from Egypt. But when God did so, Pharaoh's heart became hardened again. The fifth plague of animal disease. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go back to Pharaoh, saying, 'God has said, let my people go, so that they may serve me. If you refuse, your cattle of donkey, horses, and sheep will die. But I will save the cattle of donkey, horses, and sheep of the Israelites." Pharaoh refused, and God did this the very next day. Pharaoh still did not listen, and his heart became very hard. The sixth plague of boils. The Lord said to Moses to take dust and scatter it so that it causes boils on the Egyptians and its animals. Moses did as the Lord said, and the Egyptians and its animals were covered in boils. Pharaoh's heart still remained hard. The seventh plague of hail. The Lord then sent Moses back to Pharaoh, saying, "God has said, let my people go, so that they may serve me." Pharaoh refused. The Lord then sent hail to rain down on the people of Egypt, but not on the Israelites. Pharaoh could not bear this and sent for Moses. He said, I have sinned. My people have been bad. I will let you go. Please, please, stop this." When God stopped the hail and Pharaoh saw this, Pharaoh's heart became hard again, and he did not let them go. The eighth plague of locusts. Moses and Aaron went back to Pharaoh and said, "How long will you refuse? God has said, let my people go, so that they may serve me. Pharaoh thought about it with his servants, but he did not want to let everyone go. So the Lord sent locusts on the land to eat every tree of the land left. Pharaoh then asked Moses to have God remove the plague of locusts. But when God did so, Pharaoh refused again to let God's people go because his heart was hard. The 9th plague of darkness. God then said to Moses, "Stretch your hand towards heaven, so that darkness covers the land of Egypt." However, there was light for the people of Israel in their homes. Pharaoh called for Moses and said, "Go serve your God, but leave your animals here." They could not go without their animals. So Pharaoh's heart became hard, and he refused to let them go. The 10th plague of firstborn death. The Lord then said, "I will send one last plague. After this plague, he will let the people of Israel go. Every firstborn of the Egyptians will not live, including Pharaoh's. You shall also put the blood of the lamb on your doorpost as a sign, so that I will pass over you and your house with this plague." When God sent this plague to the Egyptians, there was a great cry in Egypt, and Pharaoh could not take it anymore. He told Moses to take the people of Israel and all their cattle to go serve the Lord. The people of Israel were finally free. They took all their belongings, along with gold and silver from the Egyptians, and left the land of Egypt. They were now free to serve God. The end. Don't forget to like and subscribe.